After turning into a zombie, the girl gains many strange skills. For example, she can recover in 1 second after she is shot. Even if she is pierced through by a sharp weapon, she will recover as long as she eats something. Her saliva seems to be filled with anesthetics, and the enemies who are bitten by her can't move. In fact, it is the male protagonist, the corpse god, who makes the girl invincible. What happened between them? Like and subscribe, and let's start today's recap. In an underground palace in another world, there are countless soldiers who want to kill the owner of the palace, the corpse god. The corpse god is a powerful necromancer who kills many humans in these years. His body is like a giant skeleton, and he can turn the dead creature's souls into energy as well as use bones to summon a giant dragon. Besides, the corpse god can also cast magic to summon an army of dead souls, and ordinary soldiers are no match for him at all. Until one day, he meets the hero in this world. The hero has the evil eye just like him, with which he can see the dead souls and see through the power used by the corpse god. However, the corpse god seems to have a different purpose. During the fight, he deliberately shows flaws and is pierced through his body by the hero. In the next second, the corpse god opens his eyes, and he finds himself traveling to Earth and reincarnated into the body of a boy. Strangely enough, the neck of this body seems to have just been cut. While getting acquainted with the body, the corpse god comes out of the alley, and he is curious about everything on Earth. However, there is little mana on Earth, and he can't cast his powerful magic for the time being. Just then, a UAV targets the corpse god. The owner of the UAV is a hacker from a killer organization, and he is shocked by the fact that the boy in front of him is not dead. Later, he orders the killer to kill the corpse god again. The corpse god doesn't know about this. He finds that human children seem to be very happy, and he can't help but lament that this is the peaceful life he wants. At this time, the corpse god's neck catches the attention of the two policemen. When questioned by the police, he finds himself slowly gaining the memories of the body's owner, and he quickly masters the language of Earth and learns that the body's owner's name is Polka. Just as the corpse god does not know how to respond to the police's questioning, a beautiful girl falls from the sky and flees with him before he can react. The girl wearing black stockings is named Misaki, and she takes the corpse god back to the alley. At this time, Misaki's face appears in the corpse god's mind, and it seems that the body's owner knows her. Before the corpse god can gain all the memories, Misaki lifts him up and shakes him fiercely, and then she hugs him hard, feeling his temperature. The corpse god has never experienced such happiness, and while he is still shy, Misaki's words shock him. "Next, I'll kill you again." It turns out that Misaki is a top killer, and it was she who killed the body's owner not long ago. After saying this, she takes out a weapon and attacks the corpse god. When the corpse god can't cast magic, he is no different from ordinary people, eager to survive. He runs as fast as possible. Unfortunately, this body is so weak that he is soon found by Misaki. It wasn't easy for the corpse god to reincarnate into this world, and he doesn't want to die directly. Therefore, he picks up the weapon on the ground and fights Misaki. He resists Misaki's attack based on his combat experience in his previous life, which makes Misaki very happy. She likes to see her prey dying in fear after desperately resisting. Misaki is not in a hurry at all, allowing the injured corpse god to escape, while she slowly follows behind him like a cat teasing a mouse. Luckily, God doesn't seem to want him to die just like that, and the corpse god flees into a strange room. Misaki, who then catches up, tells him that this room is called the execution ground, where many gangsters kill people and then dissolve the bodies. She thinks that the corpse god has chosen the right place where she can satisfy her proclivity for slaughtering humans. The corpse god also thinks this is a good place filled with dead souls, which can replenish his mana so that he can cast magic. When Misaki attacks him, he casts magic, and then a bone hand comes out of the magic array. Soon, Misaki's body is pierced through by it. What the corpse god doesn't know is that a UAV hides behind Misaki, and the hacker uses the UAV to record the moments when the corpse god was casting magic. At this time, the corpse god is so shocked to see Misaki stop breathing, and he can't imagine that humans in this world are so weak. Misaki's death reminds the corpse god of something, and let's have a look at his tragic life. Since childhood, the corpse god has had the evil eye and can see the souls of the dead. Later, he was sold by his father to the magician in the palace and trained to become an ugly-looking necromancer. As an excellent necromancer of the empire, he would also go to war, where he has witnessed many humans' death. Later, the empire he belonged to was destroyed, and he planned to find a quiet place to live alone. Unexpectedly, he met 5 children who had lost their homes. In fact, the corpse god is very kind. He hates war very much, and has always longed for a peaceful life, so he offered a lot of help to these children. These children did not disappoint him as well. They did not despise the corpse god because of his ugly face and lived happily with him. For the corpse god, these children were his family. However, happiness didn't last long. The church of the new empire felt that the corpse god was dirty, so the children with him must have been defiled. They purified the souls of the children by burning them while the corpse god was away. Furious, the corpse god turned into a monster that only took revenge, and killed all the soldiers to avenge the children. After that, the human empire kept sending soldiers to attack the corpse god, but it always ended in failure. The souls of these dead soldiers constantly strengthened the corpse god's power, and also attracted the souls around to approach him. In a century, the place where he was kept expanding, and finally became a terrifying underground palace. In fact, the corpse god has never forgotten his dream of living a peaceful life. He understood that his look would prevent him from living such a life, so he studied reincarnation magic during this time. But this magic is only effective when the user dies. Since the corpse god is an undead who cannot kill himself, he has been waiting for a strong man who can kill him. In the end, killed by the hero, he came to Earth. At first, he thought about living well and not killing people again. Unexpectedly, he accidentally killed Misaki, coupled with the fact that he has not yet learned why Polka, the owner of his body, was hunted down. He feels very confused, worrying that his peaceful life will be destroyed. Then, the scene jumps to Misaki's story. She grew up in a happy family, but her parents were murdered, and the killer even abused her parents' bodies in front of Misaki. Since then, Misaki's mind has changed. She became a killer who hunts only criminals, and she likes to kill targets while on missions. At that time, Polka was just an ordinary student, and Misaki took on the task of killing Polka in order to see if she was really cold-blooded. When Polka was killed by her, she suddenly felt that the world was very boring and nothing could influence her mood. So Misaki decided to do something that she had always wanted to do, which was to kill herself, and she came to the tall building, intending to jump down to experience the thrill. As she was about to jump down, she learned that Polka was not dead, and she decided to take on the task of killing Polka again, only to be killed by the corpse god in a strange way. Back to the present time, Misaki suddenly wakes up and finds the wound on her belly is healed, so she keeps asking the corpse god whether she is dead. When Misaki is curious about the condition of herself, she finds herself surrounded by a group of killers, and their leader is a woman named Lisa. Seeing Misaki, Lisa immediately hugs her and feels her temperature with her chest. Lisa feels that Misaki's body temperature is very low, as if she is completely dead. The corpse god quickly says that Misaki has just become a zombie. It turns out that 40 minutes ago, Takumi, a hacker who has been monitoring the corpse god, sent the video to Lisa, the leader of the killer organization, and later, Lisa rushed to the scene, intending to avenge Misaki, but she saw the corpse god healing Misaki with magic. According to the information, the Polka she needs to kill is an ordinary child who cannot have this strange ability, and she guessed that Polka had probably been possessed by someone else. When confronting Lisa, the corpse god knew that no one could cast magic in this world. He doesn't want to make himself special, and also doesn't want to silence them by killing them. Just as the corpse god was thinking about how to solve the problem, the alarm bell of the fire engine broke the awkward situation. After that, Lisa received an urgent message from Takumi. A fire broke out in a special kindergarten nearby, where a group of orphans lived, and their parents lost their lives for illegal work. When the corpse god heard that there were children nearby who were about to be burned to death, he remembered the past, which made him angry. Feeling guilty for not protecting his family, he decided to save the children. Lisa was also worried about the safety of the children, and when she learned of the strange Polka's thoughts, she immediately asked Takumi to lead him to the kindergarten and let Takumi secretly observe his actions. Eager to save the children, the corpse god crossed through the streets with magic under Takumi's leadership, arriving at his destination very quickly, just like a Spider-Man. After that, he activated the evil eye and found the children's location. He came to the burning floor, using the dead parents' souls to cast magic, and then saved the children. Though the children were saved, the souls summoned by the corpse god were recorded by citizens, which made Takumi feel very helpless. Since Polka was resurrected, he has been confused all the time. Why could Polka get resurrected? And why did Polka easily kill Misaki but also risk his life saving the children? Back to the present time. Because the corpse god healed Misaki and saved the children, Lisa puts down her guard against him and accepts the fact that he has possessed Polka's body. Besides, his ability attracts Lisa. After chatting with Lisa, the corpse god gets to know about the world, realizing that he can also live a peaceful life just like others. But first, he has to earn a lot of money. Now his ability has been exposed, and he thinks that earning money with magic is a good way to achieve his goal. Therefore, at Lisa's suggestion, he joins her organization and becomes partners with Takumi and Misaki. The corpse god, as a necromancer in another world, will start his adventures on Earth. Soon after, the corpse god, with the help of Lisa, rents the abandoned building where he and Misaki were fighting. There are many dead souls that can replenish the corpse god's mana in this building, and during the process of replenishing mana, the corpse god learns a lot about Earth. While Misaki and Takumi, the teammates of the corpse god, have accepted the fact that the corpse god was reincarnated to Earth. It is worth mentioning that the corpse god is unable to gain more memories of Polka, and to hide the truth about his possession of Polka's body, he lies to Polka's family that Polka is on a journey. In addition, the corpse god is able to have a simple talk with the remaining souls of Polka, and learns that Polka has forgiven Misaki for killing him. Later, he possesses Polka's soul on Takumi's UAV, and when he finds a suitable person to possess, he will release Polka. This behavior makes Takumi think that the corpse god doesn't care about human life and soul. However, the corpse god doesn't care about what he thinks, and the only thing he wants to do now is to find the client who wants to kill Polka and then ask him to give up killing Polka. Otherwise, it will become a hindrance to him to live a peaceful life. Unfortunately, Lisa, as an intermediary of the killer organization, has to keep the client's information a secret for the sake of her reputation, so she can't reveal any intelligence to the corpse god. Except for Lisa's organization, there are many killer organizations in this world, including a very famous organization named Lemmings. Though the corpse god is very powerful, this organization is still probably able to hurt him. Knowing this, the corpse god becomes alerted, worrying that the Lemmings will take the mission of killing Polka, which will prevent him from pursuing his dream. But now what he wants to do the most is to earn money with his ability for his future peaceful life. Luckily, he soon gets a chance. A man is being hunted down by foreign killers, so he wants Misaki to kill these killers in advance. But Misaki has other things to do and can't take this commission. At this time, the corpse god suddenly appears and says that he is willing to accept his request. However, the man doesn't know who he is and wants to refuse. Seeing the corpse god's initiative, Misaki is excited and takes the job. Later, Misaki and the man come to the destination, and Misaki eliminates the killers in a short time. Just when Misaki feels disappointed at such an easy fight, the man shoots her. It turns out that this is a trap of the man, whose leader was killed by Misaki, and he comes this time to take revenge. Luckily, after Misaki becomes a zombie, her strength has improved, and ordinary injuries can't put her to death. Seeing the dead get resurrected, the man and his companions feel very frightened. At this time, the corpse god arrives, and the reason why he wants to take the job is revealed. It turns out that he discovers many children's souls on the man, who belongs to a criminal organization, and these children were abused by the criminal organization before they died. Knowing this, the corpse god is very angry, so he accepts the children's request to take revenge on the criminal organization. Soon after, he casts his skill to summon the Bone Hand, trapping the people of the criminal organization in a giant stone. The children's souls thus get to rest in peace, and the corpse god can finally calm down. When they return to the abandoned building, Misaki is checking the wound on her body and finds that it is completely healed. She is very excited about having such an ability. The corpse god has never seen a girl's body, and he feels very shy when seeing this. Later, Takumi learns of the reason why the corpse god took the job, and he is very confused about why the corpse god would fulfill the children's wish. In his opinion, the corpse god doesn't care about human life at all. In fact, the corpse god attaches great importance to life, and he hopes that children in all worlds can grow up healthy, which is a symbol of peaceful life in his opinion. As for those who hurt the children, he won't let them go easily. After learning of the corpse god's thoughts, Takumi feels ashamed because he often takes the task of killing people. Even though the killed one didn't do anything wrong, he will still kill them for payment. At this time, Polka's and his family's names are shown on Takumi's screen, which seems to foreshadow Polka's mysterious identity. Meanwhile, Lisa, who is taking a bath, receives a mission report from Takumi. She then tells Takumi that she will no longer take the mission of killing Polka, and reveals the current situation of the criminal organization that the corpse god attacked. The organization has many enemies, and they even provoked the Lemmings. After going back to her room, Lisa starts to talk about the corpse god with two girls. She thinks the corpse god likes children very much, which she can use to control him to help her achieve a certain goal. At this time, she receives a phone call, in which the caller seems to want Lisa to continue killing Polka, and Lisa decisively rejects him. Meanwhile, the corpse god, the one that Lisa is talking about, is explaining the zombie's ability to Misaki and Takumi. After turning into a zombie, Misaki can heal her body by eating raw meat. Besides, Misaki's saliva has a strong paralytic effect, and anyone who is bitten by her will fall into a coma. Misaki is very happy about this, and she casts her new ability on the corpse god, successfully making him fall into a deep sleep. Seeing this, Takumi can't help but lament that Misaki is a freak, making the perverted girl Misaki more excited. But soon, the corpse god comes to his senses. He doesn't feel angry because of Misaki's behavior, and then falls into deep thought. He thinks Earth is very similar to another world, with humans possessing almost the same body structures, and it seems that the two worlds have a certain connection. Maybe there are people with strange abilities just like the hero on Earth. As he suspected, such people do exist on Earth. A mysterious man destroys the giant stone made by the corpse god and then disappears. Someone calls the police and says that he heard the gunshot. When the police arrive, they are shocked by what they see. Next, two key policemen show up. One is named Iwanome, and the other is Gozaburo. Iwanome is a blonde-haired man who likes to pretend to be a gigolo and flirt with the waitress, and he seems to like Lisa very much. Gozaburo likes drinking. Once he is fleeced by the beer shop, and then he bows down and apologizes to them. But the next second, he knocks down the security guards of the beer shop with his head, and he seems to enjoy such a way of fighting. These two policemen with strange habits are in charge of paranormal events. When they come to the scene, they find the people buried by the giant stone are still breathing, but they completely lose the ability to move. In fact, the corpse god didn't kill the people of the criminal organization. In order to make these people unable to kill others, he uses his ability to make them lose their sanity. However, the situation at the scene is different from what the corpse god says, and someone used supernatural power to twist the body of the criminal organization's people. During then, Iwanome mentions that he has dealt with other supernatural events codenamed Lemmings, the Grim Reaper, and the fire-breathing bug. Obviously, there are people with special abilities in this world, and they are slowly getting close to the corpse god. In this world, people call the extremely powerful criminals troublemakers, and Iwanome's team is in charge of cases related to them. After a long investigation and pursuit, 3 troublemakers still have not been arrested. It is worth mentioning that these cases related to troublemakers have finally been explained very scientifically. Iwanome believes that there are no supernatural powers in the world. He firmly believes that all the weird cases are secretly manipulated by humans. As long as the criminal is a human, they have a way to deal with him. Meanwhile, the corpse god transfers Polka's soul from Takumi's drone to a shark doll, but Polka still can't speak. If the corpse god wants to solve this problem, he must increase his mana to make a human vocal cord for Polka. The good news is that gems on Earth, like those in another world, can replenish mana. However, gems on Earth are expensive and the corpse god doesn't have enough money to buy them. After learning the price of the gems, he vows to buy all of them one day. On the way back, the corpse god and Misaki run into Gozaburo. Gozaburo does not yet know their identities, and his prey is the drone following the corpse god. He knows it is Takumi who is controlling the drone. After catching the drone, he tries to use it to talk to Takumi to get information about troublemakers. The corpse god, well aware of the importance of the drone to Takumi, demands that Gozaburo return it. Gozaburo doesn't expect that the corpse god is Takumi's friend. He believes that Takumi is a scum and advises the corpse god not to associate with scum. But the corpse god is very resolute. He immediately refutes Gozaburo and is ready for battle. Worrying that the corpse god will expose his identity, Takumi reminds him through a Bluetooth headphone to hide his strength. Although Gozaburo is a police officer, he deals with criminals in a very cruel way. Before joining Lisa's organization, Takumi witnessed Gozaburo kill multiple gang members in an instant. Coupled with their identities as an intelligence seller and a police officer, which are natural rivals, Takumi is very afraid of Gozaburo. In order not to let Gozaburo and corpse god come into contact, Takumi calls Gozaburo and sends a number of drones to track him. He lies that the corpse god and Misaki are just ordinary people. As long as Gozaburo does anything out of line, he will immediately post the video online. Gozaburo acts very calmly. He taunts Takumi as a coward who only hides, and tells the story in front of the corpse god that Takumi once betrayed his friends to survive. Unexpectedly, the corpse god doesn't care about Takumi's past. In his opinion, Gozaburo is even more despicable than Takumi. While the two are engaged in a confrontation, Misaki attacks Gozaburo while he is distracted, and then flees with the corpse god. Gozaburo returns to the police station after losing track of the corpse god. Misaki's attack left a footprint on Gozaburo, and Gozaburo's colleague recognizes it as something that appeared in a case related to Troublemaker. The Troublemaker is named Lemmings, and he has committed a lot of crimes lately. Gozaburo realizes that Misaki might be a witness and is very excited. People from other departments recall Lemmings based on their conversations. Lemmings showed up about 5 years ago and has terrifying strength. In order to make money, he did a lot of illegal things. The police once sent a large number of troops to arrest him, only to be all eliminated. Because it was difficult for ordinary police officers to fight against troublemakers, the superior formed a special team and appointed Iwanome as the captain. as the one that is given high hope by the superior. Iwanome is drinking with two busty girls in Lisa's bar. He suspects that Lisa is close to troublemakers, but he has no evidence and can only approach her disguised as an ordinary guest. He deliberately mentions a case related to lemmings in order to test Lisa. Lisa knows that many guests will use different means to exchange information with her, so she ignores Iwanome's behavior. Just as Iwanome wants to continue testing Lisa, the corpse god and Misaki enter the bar. Iwanome is not curious about the identity of the two at first, until he receives a text message from Gozaburo. He is very surprised that Misaki is a witness, and then sends the address of the bar to Gozaburo, urging him to come as soon as possible. Then, in order to stall for time, he treats Misaki and corpse god to juice. The corpse god, unaware of Iwanome's true purpose, accepts his invitation. While corpse god is immersed in the happiness of drinking juice for the first time, Gozaburo comes to the bar with his colleagues. Because Gozaburo takes action too quickly, Takumi doesn't have time to alert corpse god. Gozaburo and Iwanome successfully gather, and just when they are about to capture Misaki, the electricity in the bar is off. The corpse god's eyes are not affected by light, so he can move freely. Just as the corpse god tries to escape with Misaki, he suddenly senses someone powerful. In the darkness, Lisa lights a match. Through the dim light, they all see the culprit of this accident, Lemmings. Everyone is shocked to see Lemmings show up. Like before, Gozaburo decides to defeat Lemmings first before arresting him. Unexpectedly, Lemmings is more powerful than he imagines. Gozaburo and his men together are still no match for him. Strangely, Lemmings seems to be looking for someone and isn't immersed in the fight. When he discovers Misaki, he quickly ends the fight and takes her away. The corpse god wants to stop Lemmings, but there are too many police officers at the scene, and he dares not easily expose his strength. Coupled with the fact that he has seen the extraordinary power of Lemmings, he worries that being his enemy will prevent him from living a peaceful life, but he doesn't want to abandon his friend. After thinking for a short time, he decides to risk revealing his strength to save Misaki. The corpse god summons Bone Hands to take Misaki from Lemmings. Immediately afterwards, he casts magic and attacks him. However, Lemmings is so powerful that he dodges the corpse god's attack and takes back Misaki. Thankfully, Misaki guesses the purpose of Lemmings. She deliberately reveals some hints to divert his attention, and then takes the opportunity to use her unique saliva to paralyze Lemmings. Unexpectedly, the bandage on Lemmings' body has a strong protective effect, causing her attack to lose its effect. Lemmings' strength surprises the corpse god, and he dares not to underestimate him anymore. To defeat him, he casts powerful magic to summon a giant skeleton. Finally, Lemmings is forced back by the corpse god's attack, and electricity of Lisa's bar is restored. As the mastermind behind the attack, Lemmings is now reporting the result of the mission to Takeru. Because his mission this time was to kill a person named Jinba, he looked for Misaki, who was once in contact with the target of the mission, to ask for information. When Misaki told him that Jinba has been eliminated by her, he did not continue to fight the corpse god. At this time, Lemmings notices a picture of the corpse god on the table and specifically mentions that he has seen him. Takeru takes the corpse god as Polka, and is surprised that he is still alive. The corpse god doesn't know that he has been a target of someone. After the battle against Lemmings, he knows his true pursuit. He would rather give up the peaceful life if it requires sacrificing his friends' lives. Also, he realizes that he needs to think of a way to earn money so that he can buy gems to increase his mana. He wants to run a magical shop. By signing a contract with souls, he can make the souls attached to the mechanical pencil. In this way, the souls can speak in his place by writing on the paper, which can be used as a gimmick to attract customers. In this world, only he can achieve this, and he believes that he can definitely monopolize the market of magic. With the help of Misaki and Takumi, the corpse god runs a divination shop to help customers solve their troubles in life. The divination results given by the corpse god are rarely wrong, and coupled with the magical pencil that can move, many customers come to their shop every day. While the corpse god is immersed in the sense of accomplishment of making money, a group of unidentified people breaks into his base. Reminded by Polka, he discovers that the two leading persons are Polka's nephew and niece, Kazuki and Shizuki. Recently, many incidents happened in Polka's family, and they haven't seen Polka for half a month. To their surprise, Polka is running a divination shop. Worrying that his true identity will be exposed, the corpse god pretends to be role-playing and communicates with them as the soothsayer corpse god. During this time, the corpse god notices the undead behind them and learns from the undead that they are in a very dangerous situation. The corpse god is very kind. He hugs the siblings, vowing that he will protect them, and then asks them to go home first. It is worth mentioning that the corpse god tells the undead that he is not Polka, and also promises that Polka will return to his family tomorrow. After receiving the promise of the corpse god, the undead finally feels relieved. Kazuki and Shizuki, although they do not understand the specifics, obediently leave. To help corpse god, Takumi finds out information about the Polka family. Polka's father, Rosen, is a well-known rich local merchant. He is 79 years old and owns many valuable properties. Polka is the second son of the family. If Rosen dies, Polka has the right to inherit his estate. Takumi believes this inheritance is the reason why Polka is assassinated. The complicated situation of the Polka family makes corpse god feel very troubled. Because he can't show magic at will, he must protect himself and the siblings while hiding his magic strength. Meanwhile, Kazuki and Shizuki meet their older brother, Takaru, on their way home. Takaru has been sending people to track the corpse god since he received a report from Lemmings. Upon learning that he is about to return home, Takaru has been vigilant. In addition to Takaru, Rosen also learns about the divination shop. He mistakenly thinks that the corpse god is Polka and laments that he resembles his mother. Perhaps because of Polka's mother, Rosen is very excited at this time, and he begins to look forward to the day he sees Polka. The corpse god arrives at the Polka family's manor and is greeted by Kazuki, Shizuki, and Takaru. Because the corpse god comes with Misaki, Takaru is surprised. It turns out that Takaru was once helped by Misaki's parents, and he recognizes Misaki's identity. Upon arriving at the dining room, Misaki recounts how she met Polka. Polka saved her many times. Without him, she would have ended her own life when her parents died unexpectedly. Takaru sympathizes with Misaki and welcomes her arrival. Noticing that Misaki has naturally integrated into Polka's family, the corpse god hurriedly reminds himself not to show flaws. Before coming to the manor, with the help of Takumi, he learns about the etiquette of the nobility and the information of Polka's family. Takaru is a tough guy. He manages a special division of the group, dedicated to eliminating scandals for others and cleaning up those who cause trouble. Takaru is older than Polka, but he is Polka's nephew, because Polka's father, Rosen, married Polka's mother in his later years, resulting in a difference in Polka's age from others. The Polka family is a large family. Thankfully, most of them aren't at home, and the corpse god doesn't have to deal with too many people. While he is chatting with others, Rosen comes to the dining room. He welcomes the corpse god home and invites him to talk to him alone. The corpse god follows Rosen to his room, but he never expects that Rosen will have already seen through that he is not Polka. Rosen believes that there is a special sense between parents and children. As Polka's father, it is impossible for him not to recognize his children. He wants to talk to the corpse god because he wants to know Polka's whereabouts. Just as the corpse god is about to tell the truth, he suddenly hears the undead crying for help. He tells Rosen that he wants to help Kazuki and Shizuki out of danger first. After obtaining Rosen's consent, the corpse god immediately activates his ability to teleport himself to the undead. Let's have a look at the undead's memories. 2 years ago, the undead was still alive, and she is named Suzuka, the eldest granddaughter of Rosen. That night, when she was helping Kazuki look for her bag, she overheard Rosen's niece's husband plotting a fire with a mysterious man. To win the family property, he intended to create a fire to murder the other heirs of the property and frame Kazuki and Shizuki. When eavesdropping, Suzuka accidentally revealed herself and was burned to death by them. Out of her love for her brother and sister, she turned into the undead after death and has been protecting them. Now, 2 years later, Kazuki and Shizuki encounter a fire again and go to the exit with the help of a bodyguard. Suzuka recognizes the bodyguard as the one who killed her and is worried that they will be in danger. Meanwhile, Iwanome is interrogating a troublemaker, Tenna, nicknamed the Phantom Solitaire. Many recent arson cases have been linked to a troublemaker called the fire-breathing bug. Since they have similar strengths, Iwanome wants to learn about the special abilities of the troublemakers from Tenna. He mentions a number of fires caused by fire-breathing bug. Every time fire-breathing bug commits a crime, she will leave a weird criminal statement at the crime scene. This world is a buggy program. Iwanome deliberately stands at a scientific point and guesses that fire-breathing bug was disguised as a relevant person and spent a long time laying out the tools for the crime, just like a bug hiding in the shadows and constantly eating wood. If Iwanome guesses right, the fire in Polka's house is most likely caused by fire-breathing bug. Next, let's see if Kazuki and Shizuki are able to escape the fire. When fleeing, Kazuki feels something strange. She remembers that there are no exits underground and becomes suspicious of the bodyguard's purpose. At this time, the bodyguard reveals his true identity. He infiltrated Rosen's home 2 years ago and secretly sets up the tools for the crime as a bodyguard. When Shizuki and Kazuki are in danger, Misaki shows up in time to save them. She tells them to flee upstairs as soon as possible, leaving herself to deal with the bodyguard. After saying this, Misaki immediately launches a fierce attack. Unexpectedly, the bodyguard takes the opportunity to create a fire. Because the fire is raging, Kazuki and Shizuki are also trapped. Polka learns about the fire from Suzuka and rushes to rescue them. Takaru is relieved to find out that his younger siblings have managed to escape. He guesses that the culprit of the fire is Rosen's niece's husband and immediately sends his men to capture him. The corpse god, who has the same idea as Takeru, immediately searches around for the culprit of the fire. He recognizes the opponent's disguise and attacks him along with Misaki. At this time, Lemmings, under the instructions of Takeru, rushes to capture the culprit. Takeru has great power. He immediately interrogates Rosen's niece's husband and sends someone to take the culprit to the police station. It is worth mentioning that the culprit of the fire is not fire-breathing bug. Iwanome deliberately explained the arson case in a scientific way in order to obtain clues about troublemakers. Tenna guesses Iwanome's true purpose. He tells Iwanome that the one who can be called a troublemaker is a human who can perform what other humans can't do. There is no text left on Polka's mansion, which proves that the culprit is not fire-breathing bug. At this moment, the real fire-breathing bug is waiting on the flyover for the police car escorting the culprit of the fire to pass by. She then kills the other party with her ability and leaves the iconic text on the roof of the car. This world is a buggy program, so it cries for the flame. After Kazuki and Shizuki are rescued, the corpse god makes good on his promise and comes to explain his origin to Rosen. Rosen's bodyguards have been protecting Rosen in the shadows, and the corpse god asks them to leave. After that, he tells the truth. He is a necromancer from another world who was reincarnated on the body of Polka. At that time, Polka was assassinated by Misaki, and his soul was transferred elsewhere by him. When Rosen learns that Misaki killed Polka, he intends to avenge his son. Unexpectedly, Polka stands in front of Misaki and prevents Rosen from hurting her. Although Polka's soul is attached to the doll, Rosen guesses his identity based on his performance. He is amused by his appearance and dispels the idea of revenge. In order to get Polka back into his body, Rosen proposes to have the corpse god possess the artificial robot. Unexpectedly, Polka is so fond of robots that he offers to possess them. Rosen does not force them. He is very worried about Polka, thinking that someone wants to kill Polka. He decides to let the corpse god possess Polka's body for a while. After the conversation, Misaki apologizes to Polka for assassinating him. Polka pounces on Misaki, saying he doesn't care. The corpse god is impressed by Polka's kindness. He is very happy to see them living in harmony. As they are about to leave the manor, Kazuki and Shizuki thank them. Meanwhile, the phantom solitaire, Tenna, escapes from the detention center during his interrogation. Iwanome calls an emergency meeting and asks the team to find him. The phantom solitaire Tenna is a very scary criminal. 3 years ago, he placed the museum's collection in a subway station with the motive of providing inspiration to YouTubers. After that, he committed a crime of the disappearance of the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building. He painted the sky and buildings on the exterior walls of the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building to fake its disappearance. There have been many similar cases, some of which are murder involved. The most famous of these cases is a serial kidnapping case. One day, the Japanese Prime Minister was suddenly covered by a black cloth, and when the bodyguards removed the black cloth, the Prime Minister magically disappeared. The phantom solitaire Tenna admitted via a live stream that he kidnapped the Prime Minister just for fun. To prove that he didn't pick any political side, he kidnapped all the leaders of other parties. He later turned himself into the police station, claiming that his magic was a trick, but he believed that there must be real magic in the world, and he committed these crimes in order to get real magicians to notice him and approach him. In this way, he could prove that magic exists in this world. Iwanome is very afraid of Tenna and insists that he will definitely commit an even more horrific crime. His guess soon comes true. The first thing after Tenna escapes is to interrupt the TV signal and announce his comeback to the audience. He declares that his next crime show will be out a week later, asking everyone to get ready. When the corpse god hears about the deeds of Tenna, he gets wary of him. In this world, there is no magic, so people like Lemmings and Tenna are very dangerous. At this time, Polka's niece, Saya, suddenly comes to their base, saying that she wants to stay here for one night. Saya is accompanied by her butler, named Azuma, who then relays Rosen's message to the corpse god. Since Saya's room burned down in the fire, he arranges for her to stay with them temporarily. Of course, this is not the real reason, and the truth is that there are too many people spying on them. To ensure Polka's safety, Rosen sends Azuma to guard them. The corpse god is alert to everything, and he thinks that Saya may also be the one who sent someone to assassinate Polka. While Saya left home, Iwanome and Gozaburo are investigating arson at her home. Takeru believes the police are so incompetent that they let fire-breathing Bug and Tenna go unpunished. If possible, he wants Iwanome to catch Tenna as soon as possible so that their company's share price won't be affected. Iwanome cannot refute his words and can only say that he will try hard to catch them. After the investigation, Iwanome sorts out the clues he has so far. This month, the troublemakers show up so many times, with Polka and Misaki appearing at many crime scenes. In addition, those who are tied together happen to have a dispute with Takeru's organization, so he lists Polka and Takeru as suspects. Next, let's have a look at Azuma's story. Azuma is sent by Rosen to protect Polka. Before he set out, Rosen told him that although the current Polka is fake, they can trust him. Azuma shows great respect to Rosen, and in his opinion, Polka is so cowardly that he is not worthy of being Rosen's son. He vows to eliminate Polka and replace him as Rosen's son. Azuma's family has been killers for generations. Unfortunately, Azuma suffered an accident on his first mission and lost his limbs. His people thought he had no value and wanted to use his body to develop poison. Rosen rescued Azuma and fitted him with prosthetic legs. That's why Azuma is grateful to Rosen. To eliminate Polka, Azuma installs a bug in their room, and he hears them talking about another world, but he can't understand it, mistakenly thinking they are talking about light novels and games. What surprises him the most is that the corpse god can detect that he is not sleeping even though he doesn't have monitoring equipment. Azuma has a strong desire to win, and he is determined to expose the true color of corpse god. The corpse god knows nothing about Azuma's thoughts. While he is busy preparing for the opening of the divination shop, Iwanome and Gozaburo visit their shop. Iwanome emphasizes that he comes here this time not to investigate the case, but to try divination. Since Gozaburo is not interested in divination, the corpse god performs the divination for Iwanome alone. During then, the corpse god tells exactly what Iwanome has experienced. Iwanome doesn't think he really has divination abilities, because he ties a scarf over his head. Iwanome speculates that a communication device is hiding inside the scarf. Through the communication device, Takumi provides him with the information he has gathered, but he never expects that the corpse god will control a pen and write down a very mysterious mark on the note. Iwanome is shocked. He grabs the corpse god by the collar and asks why he knows the mark. As a soothsayer, the corpse god explains that he is only showing him the way. Iwanome speculates that the corpse god may have been instructed by someone. He realizes that he was acting too impulsively and immediately lets go of him. Before leaving, Iwanome gives him a fortune as the divination fee. It is worth mentioning that the corpse god does not know the specific content of the note, and the mark was written by Hosoroji, the undead attached to the mechanical pencil. Meanwhile, Iwanome arrives at Lisa's bar and tells her about Hosoroji. Hosoroji used to be the chief of their precinct. He once told Iwanome that the purpose of the community safety division is to protect children, and the mark means something very dangerous. Iwanome mistakenly thinks that Lisa told the corpse god about the mark, and is upset that she has put innocent children in danger. Unexpectedly, Lisa denies it. Iwanome doesn't press her for more specific things. He is very respectful to Hosoroji. He vows to put the police station in order and guard the children before Hosoroji returns. A few days later, Tenna's performance begins. Countless flying ships suddenly appear in the sky, all of which are painted with the mysterious mark. The corpse god recognizes the mark, which is the emblem of a destroyed empire in another world. With the appearance of the emblem, members of a mysterious organization engage in heated discussions, as if the emblem is the symbol of their organization. Unwilling to expose the organization, they immediately launch an attack on Tenna. But they don't find the real Tenna and only find a humanoid doll that resembles him. After the doll is attacked, Tenna immediately concludes that it is the mysterious organization that wants to murder him. He is very curious about this organization, and the reason why he drew the emblem on the ships is that he wants to attract their attention. Tenna's plan is perfect, and the assassination of the mysterious organization allows him to find some clues. According to the direction of the shooting, he believes that the attacker is in the police helicopter. He deduces that the mysterious organization has penetrated the police, and tells his thoughts on the live stream, offering a lot of money to collect information related to the mysterious organization from the audience. The corpse god and his friends are also watching Tenna's live stream. During then, the corpse god mentions another world, which is heard by Saya. At her request, the corpse god tells her about his origins. He is reincarnated to Earth from another world, and in his previous life, he was a necromancer from Buyindi Empire. After the empire was destroyed, a hero named Shigrua killed him. The corpse god then cast reincarnation magic and was reincarnated into Polka's body. He says that Polka's soul is safe and promises he will return his body in the future. Surprisingly, Saya has long seen through that he is not Polka. After listening to his explanation, she believes him for the time being, but she still can't accept the fact that Polka has been killed and decides to take a shower to calm down. To see if Saya is the one who sent someone to kill Polka, Misaki follows her into the bathroom, but Saya can tell her intention. She thinks that Misaki has always felt guilty about killing Polka, so she wants to ease the guilt by punishing the culprit. Saya comforts Misaki, saying that Polka is a very kind person and that he has long forgiven her. During the days they spent together, she also got to know Misaki a little, and she believes that she is not a bad person. Misaki feels very touched, and she becomes friends with Saya. After Saya takes a bath, Misaki officially announces that Saya is not the one who sent someone to assassinate Polka. Both the corpse god and Takumi decide to believe her. Now the most important thing for them is the emblem, which is an important memory of the corpse god, and he won't allow anyone to defile it. If the mysterious organization intends to use the emblem to do something bad, he will not let it go. After the discussion, they intend to follow Tenna's words and start an investigation from the police. They hack into the police system and discover that Iwanome has caught the attention of Superintendent General Giradoro for investigating Hosoroji. After observing Iwanome, Giradoro concludes that Iwanome is just trying to find out who framed Hosoroji and decides to believe him for the time being. Considering that Iwanome is the one who knows Tenna the best, he gives Iwanome the task of investigating Tenna. Afterward, Tenna comes to the corpse god's divination shop. He uses special makeup techniques to disguise himself as an ordinary person, and then deliberately asks about the mark to test the corpse god's abilities. Surprisingly, the corpse god really knows some inside details. He does not allow the emblem to be defiled, so he stresses that the mark drawn by Tenna is wrong and draws the real one on paper. Tenna speculates that the corpse god is related to the mysterious organization. Believing that it is a test for him, he does not dare to reveal his true identity and decides to leave. At this time, the corpse god suddenly mentions a girl in a wheelchair. She appears to be the guardian spirit of Tenna and is concerned about what he has done. Tenna isn't sure if the corpse god can really see the spirit behind him, but he is interested in the corpse god's abilities, and he decides to continue observing him. It is worth mentioning that another customer who comes to the divination shop asks the same question as him. Before leaving, Tenna sees the mysterious customer. Based on the raincoat on her, he recognizes her identity: fire-breathing bug. At night, Azuma is sorting through the information he has overheard. He often heard the name Hosoroji, but he searches the intelligence network of the family and finds nothing. At this moment, a sound of footsteps suddenly comes from the roof. He rushes to the roof and meets Tenna, who lands on the roof of the base and seemingly intends to do something bad. Azuma recognizes him as a wanted criminal, deciding to capture him and slowly interrogate him. What they don't know is that Takeru has been sending people to observe the base. Knowing that Tenna is fighting Rosensgard, he decides to participate in the fight as well. At this time, the corpse god is asleep, unaware of what is happening around him. He dreams of his past life. At that time, he was a necromancer in the Buyindi Empire, which underwent a great change. The army was swallowed by the pit, and the Homewrecker dragon fled with the general and troops. The corpse god wanted to go to the front to help, but was blocked by his master, who thought this war was very stupid. She did not want to go to the front line to help, but she would try to protect the people they know. She reminded the corpse god that they are necromancers with unlimited time. Therefore, they should cherish those who live in a limited time. Unfortunately, the corpse god ultimately did not fulfill his master's wish. The empire collapsed, and the people around him died tragically. All of this made the corpse god extremely guilty. At the end of the dream, the Majesty suddenly came to him. The corpse god wants to call the Majesty's name, but is woken up by Polka. It turns out that Polka is very frightened when he notices the sudden appearance of 2 lines of burning text on the wall. The corpse god checks the handwriting. He judges that it is man-made, not a prank of the ghost. At this time, he receives a mysterious phone call, in which he is asked if he is a bastard child of Sabrament. Hearing this familiar name, he feels very shocked, because Sabrament does not belong to this world. Though the corpse god wants some more specific information, the person doesn't reveal more. Just then, he remembers the burning characters on the wall and guesses that the mysterious man is probably nearby. He screens the people around the base and soon finds 3 men on the roof. Before the duel between Azuma and Tenna can be decided, Lemmings suddenly joins them. Since Takara has told him not to hurt Azuma, his target is only Tenna. The corpse god doesn't know Lemmings' purpose, but he keeps wary of him. In addition, a girl hovering near the base also catches the corpse god's attention, coupled with the mysterious man suddenly hanging up the phone call. The corpse god is puzzled and decides to use his ability to suppress the complicated situation. The scene then cuts to the other world. The corpse god's master mentions her apprentice to her good friend. She believes that the corpse god is very empathetic and will sacrifice all for the person and things he cares about, which, if tarnished, will drive him crazy. As it turned out, the corpse god's master really knows him well. After his investigation, the corpse god found that people who appeared near the base have all asked about the emblem. He thinks they must have some kind of clue, and he doesn't want to let any of them go, except for Azuma. Considering Azuma is Saya's butler, the corpse god secretly uses magic to help him. As for Lemmings, he is controlled by the corpse god's power and is unable to attack. The corpse god is satisfied with the situation. He then uses the most powerful necromancy spell, ready to capture everyone on the scene. Unfortunately, his current energy is not enough to suppress lemmings, and even Tenna takes advantage of the chaos to escape. In the end, the corpse god only catches the girl downstairs. Little does he know that she is most likely the fire-breathing bug. At the end of the story, the corpse god's necromancy causes a very heated discussion on the internet, and the police launch an investigation. With the emergence of various forces, the city of Tokyo is destined to be restless, which currently brings the end of the anime. Dead Mount Death Play is a relatively surprising isekai anime, where the corpse god was reincarnated from another world to modern times and unexpectedly discovered a connection between the two worlds. The novel's setting with suspense and superpower elements makes a huge and complicated background. We can see a lot of foreshadowing in this season, leaving us in suspense as more forces emerged. The second season is expected to air in October. If you enjoyed this anime, please leave a continue in the comment area, and I will continue to update the follow-up story as soon as possible. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you in my next video.